We're going to talk about some different types of divination today. I have several types laid out on my table. This is part of the tapping into your intuition through divination class. So with these pieces that are on the table, we're going to do a quick introduction, and then there will be videos to follow for some of these to be used more in depth. So to start with, we're going to start on the bottom left corner, and there is a pile of sticks there, you can see. These would be pieces of, I believe, Y-E-W, and these are used for the I Ching. And I Ching is an Asian system of divination used through the direction that the sticks fall and the patterns that the sticks make. Right next to them, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get a good close-up. That is a set of handmade runes that were painted on squished glass marbles to make it look like hematite. Runes are a Germanic system of divination. To the back, that is a selenite ball, or a version of a crystal ball that you would use for scrying. Right next to it, that big black disc, that's a reflective disc known as a magic mirror or a black mirror. And this is something that you would look into to see different shapes or images come to you. Below that little orange piece, that's a pendulum. Pendulums are used generally to give you a yes or no answer, but you can use different charts with them. We'll talk more about that later. This big honking piece of rock right here, this is a piece of granite that I use for divination. It's also a piece that I use for meditation and journeying. And you would use something like this to look in it for, again, shapes or patterns. The trio of cards that you see there between the pendulum and the runes, that is a set of cards based on mahjong tiles. And again, this is based on what numbers come up for you, what suits come up for you, and kind of the pattern that things make. Right next to that, there is another pile of sticks, and each of those sticks has a marking on it, and each of those markings corresponds to a particular tree. This is a druidic set known as the Ogham, O-G-H-A-M. If we back out a little bit, you'll see there's two L-shaped sticks there made out of copper. Those are dowsing rods. Those are usually used, commonly people know that those are used to find water. Now if we back up a little bit further, we'll see there's a nice long one down there with a little bobber on the bottom right side, and that is a bobber dowsing rod. So that one would work differently. The pair would spread out to make kind of a V shape or a Y shape, whereas the bobber, it will actually increase in depth of bobbing when you come close to what it is that you're looking for. Come back in again here. So we have several sets of cards here. The bottom set is a standard Rider-Waite tarot deck. Sorry, it's so blurry. Above it is another tarot deck that's based on the Rider-Waite, so it's similar iconography and coloring, but it has its differences. This deck here is known as the Goddess Oracle deck. Oracle decks are different from tarot decks because tarot decks have suits and a major and minor arcana, whereas oracle decks are usually based on a theme, but there's no real suits. Back behind that, you'll see I have the book there. It says the Serenity Runes. This is a set of 5 runes that are set to correspond with the Serenity Prayer. The set of 3 cards that you see there, this is known as the Russian Gypsy fortune-telling cards. And these cards are set up in a way that when you flip them over, you're looking for pairs. Each one of those cards is split into a quadrant, and you want to match the quadrants to other quadrants. Back behind is a book called The Answers. This is a divinatory tool as well, in that you ask a question and you just pick a place in the book, open it up, and it will give you some advice. Right next to that, really tiny, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get them or not. These are angel cards. So when you're having a hard time, you can pull these little cards, and each one just has a single word and a little hand-drawn picture of an angel. And these are supposed to help give you some inspiration. This in the back, most people are familiar with. This is a tarot or a Ouija board. We're not actually going to be using the Ouija board, but I will talk a little bit about it. The reason we're not using the Ouija board, it's my personal belief that the Ouija board is already programmed to do spirit work, regardless what our actual intentions are with it, and that is through years of misuse. I think it is way easier to misuse a Ouija board than it is to properly use a Ouija board, and since they are already programmed with this idea of spirits, I don't think it's possible for us to overcome our subconscious thought of spirit misuse and use it for the use that we would like to use it for. We'll talk more about that in the class itself, though. And then the last thing I have down here, this is a little crystal set that I use for divination, and this is a system where each of the crystals has a defined meaning, each of the corners has a defined meaning, and you get your answers based on which crystals land where and with what other crystals. So, scanning back out again, that is a table full of different divinatory tools, and we will start talking about some of them individually here in just a moment. Thank you.